Now it's time for a chat with the Consular Queen because in today's evolving immigration landscape, of course, things change every day. Individuals face uncertainty and challenges navigating U.S. immigration policies, and under the policies shaped under Trump's presidency, immigrants, especially those from the Caribbean, are encountering stricter visa regulations, increased scrutiny, and the pathways to residency and citizenship are evolving. The Consular Queen, Nordia Barrett Lewis, is a seasoned expert in consular affairs and immigration matters, and she has been a key advocate for Caribbean nationals seeking clarity and support in these very, very uncertain times. She joins me now for a discussion on what immigration looks like in this era of Donald Trump. Nordia Barrett Lewis, good morning and welcome to Nationwide this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Davis. Affectionately, George.
Yeah. Affectionately,
Yes,
George. I like that. How
yes.
are you?
I am well, thank you. And thank you so much for hosting me this morning.
I haven't seen you in a minute. Everything is good.
I have been around. I have been making the rounds to Jamaica and back here because, of course, you know that we are affected in some way, shape, or form as it relates to United States immigration, whether we choose to work, live, or play in the United States. So, of course, I'm from time to time, I would want to say sometimes twice per month, I'm in Jamaica,
Hmm.
or at minimum once. So, yes, I've been around. I've not gone any place.
Good, good, good. And I can tell the listeners that we've been friends since university days, yes?
Yes.
There you go. All right. So, Nordia, some of the biggest misconceptions people have about U.S. immigration laws. What are some of those?
All right. So, I want to touch on things from the perspective of my being also an immigrant. And I must say, I am a green card holder, not yet a US citizen.
Hmm.
And that will happen at some point in 2025. You will see that blue passbook. But
Yes.
let's jump onto that. So, one of the biggest misconception that has been happening because persons are even seeing individuals being pulled from places. There was a popular case in Florida where a gentleman came out and he said, listen, my wife is going through her citizenship process and she has court next week. And imagine ICE did this. They detained her, right?
Hmm.
So let's pull the case apart. So the first thing is Native Americans don't really know or speak to the process of going from a non-citizen, green card holder, then citizenship. They always see it as you're coming as a foreign national and you are sorting out your citizenship. That's how they see it. They don't see that in between section,
Hmm.
right? So that's number one. So what I could say about that particular case is that this person is going through the process of legalizing themselves here, right?
Yes.
The other thing is, ICE took her and she has a court date already for next week. The fact that this individual has a court date, that also tells us that there is something going on in the background. Normal cases, when you're doing your green card, trying to become a legal permanent resident, normal cases don't require you to go to court.
Mm.
So if you hear that somebody is going to court,
Hmm.
then there is some underlying concern. I'm not gonna say issue because
Yes.
issue can be a strong word,
Yes.
but there's some underlying concern that they are possibly trying to fix at that time, which may cause them to be going to court. So, of course, when we hear some of these things, we have to pick it apart and as best as we can work with professionals in having an understanding of what is happening. Because here what happened, a lot of what is happening is some emotional talking as well. Um, is there some unrest? Absolutely. I would not sit here and say to you that everyone should sit comfortably and there's no reason for them to feel anyway. I'm
Yes.
not saying that. But what I'm saying, there's also some emotional factor, some emotional inserts that are taking place that is causing a little bit more than the level of concern
Yes.
that or fear
Yes.
that people should have.
Yes.
Let's just talk about the fact that, okay, if you are undocumented, and whether you're undocumented or documented, I will ask you stay away from putting yourself into problems. If you know anything about the United States, you will know that you're an American when everything is going well. And once you slip, become a Jamaican national, a Haitian national, you're
Yes.
from Belize, everybody knows where you're from once something goes off
Yes.
or goes left, right? So I'm saying we need to stay clear of making things like those happen to us.
Yes. Let me put this to you though. If for those persons who are seeking residency or citizenship, and there was a way that they legally, of course, that they came to accept that they could take those steps legally to residency or citizenship, has that pathway or have those pathways changed since Trump came back into office?
All right, so I wanna point out one particular pathway, and that you'd have seen me advocating for and pushing behind, which is that of the employment-based national interest waiver. That is professionals, you're professional, you're carrying out these expertise. You don't live here, but you can self-petition for yourself because guess what? You qualify and your qualification and expertise is in shortage here.
Yes.
And therefore the United States needs you, and they're saying we'll waive you getting an employer to come here. Simply petition for yourself and come on in. We need you.
Yes.
That has not changed. That has not changed. But what I want to do is to go back on the family-based side of things to say, if you're here and you're undocumented, even though you may not fall afoul of the law, please make it your duty to start getting documented. Don't sit comfortable to say, oh, I'm not afoul of the law. First of all, you are undocumented. So you're in this space.
You're already in the firing line.
You're already in the firing line, right? So start doing something about that. As it relates to the humanitarian side of things, though, yes. And as recent as yesterday, we would have seen something with Haiti, that there is some temporary protected status that is available or was available for them. And come August, it's going to be no longer. How many people will be affected? We're looking at 520,000 Haitians. So are we saying that there are changes? Yes. So in some cases, there's no change. In other cases, yes, there are changes.
So importantly, so you're saying that the temporary protection for some Haitian migrants were undocumented, that existed before. Come August, that would be removed. But overall,
that will be done.
Right. So overall, if you have been working there and you have skills that are not plentiful in the U.S., you can self-petition. You're saying that facility remains.
That facility remains, but here's the catch to it. You must remain documented. You must be in status. You must remain in status. So if you're out of status, that doctorate that you have and the expertise gone through the door, because they're saying you come clean. You're really squeaky clean coming in. You have never overstayed. You have never done any of those things. And yes, you can get this green card.
Yeah. The rights and options, though, you'd appreciate that in these times people don't know what their rights are. Well, are wondering if their rights remain the same as they were before Trump returned. The options open to them as they seek legal residency, they seek citizenship, they seek to be in the U.S. legitimately. Those rights,
Right.
those options overall, how much of those have changed, if at all?
All right, so one thing I will say to any person, and it's a simple sentence: follow the lines of the Constitution. You cannot go wrong with that. Because guess what? The Constitution cannot be changed with the stroke of a pen. It has to be changed going through processes. And a lot of those processes is not something that will end in a month, 2 months. It will take years.
Yes.
And the one that people talk about a whole lot is that of children born to foreign nationals here in the United States. And when we say foreign nationals, we're talking about none of either parent doesn't have documentation for the United States, right? None of the two. However, the child is born on the soil. Now, they would have tried this in what, 1988 to get this out to say, oh, you cannot acquire citizenship this way. And it went, I mean, it went no place. And right now that it's being tried again, I mean, it's blocked in the courts. So as it is right now,
Yes.
I mean, birth tourism is not okay. Right. Birth tourism is not okay. That
Yes.
has always been illegal and remain illegal, right?
Yes.
Nonetheless, if the child is born here, the child remains a U.S. citizen. As of today, just the same, that has not changed. Are there talks about it? There are talks. Is it blocked in the courts? It's blocked in the courts.
As things stand,
It's in the Constitution.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the Constitution doesn't change with the stroke of a pen.
I like that from you. If you follow the Constitution, you won't go wrong. But
Yes.
as things are changing daily, and the measures that the Trump administration is the measures that they're trying to implement are some of them blocked by the courts. When do you anticipate that things will settle down and so people can be certain about what to do, what not to do, what course to take, what course to not even bother attempting to take? Do you see the situation settling in the short order so people can be clear, or do you sense that there'll be more upheaval as the months roll along?
All right. Beautiful question. And let me see how I can sum that for you. As you would have noticed, that there's a cut in federal employment, right? So a lot of federal workers are losing their jobs. How does that affect immigration? Immigration is federal. The taxes that are being processed is federal. And you can't file a petition without taxes, right? The paperwork, they are federal. Those paperwork have to be processed by federal staff members. So if we are making leaner, meaner teams, right? Chances are things gonna take some time and probably years before it gets to a place of settlement. And this lead me to say to individuals out there, given that you see all of this is affecting federal employment, right? Don't sit on the fact that you need to get up and do something about your document now, because what you may be looking at in the future is longer processing time.
Ah.
So if we have less workers, the processing time cannot be the same. It's unlikely that it's going to be the same because some people are gonna get hurt in the process.
Yes.
Who could it be? Chances are the immigrants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right. So the backlogs will lengthen. With less workers doing the processing, the wait time will increase perhaps exponentially. And so it's a very good point you make, Nordia, that with the cuts and the layoffs, all of those things, it could be a frustrating time for people whose applications for various things are pending. Your 5-year wait could double, your 3-year wait could double, or it could even stretch for longer than that. So it's a difficult and an uncertain time, which is a double problem that nobody wants to have, eh?
Exactly. So I'm gonna say it's better to have your case pending and you're walking around with your receipt notice in pocket. And if you're asked or stopped by ICE and they're questioning whether or not you are in the process, because once you're in the process and it's not okay enough, for me, my recommendation, personal recommendation, it's not okay enough to be going through the process and have your documents at home. Keep them in your wallet, because you may save ICE the time then to know that, listen, I am going through a marriage-based petition. This is my receipt notice. If you have nothing to show, word is going to just be wind. So I'd say to you, get in line. It's best to have your documentation pending, and at least you have your receipt notices. And
Yes.
when you're moving about, you can show and share where necessary to make sure that you are okay and you're not moving around fearful because you have something in process, you have something pending. And I would like to touch on the outside, the consular side of things. I'd
Yes.
like to touch on the outside.
Yes.
Now more than ever, people need to pay attention to how they are also utilizing those visas that are given to them for the various purposes.
Get into that. Yes, I want to hear you on that.
Yes. Now more than ever, they need to pay attention. Listen, it's not okay to go to the embassy now to get a B1, B2, a visiting visa. And you'd have given them on your documentation your last how many years of work up to the point of you seeing the officer, you're working. And you got that visa. And then the next thing you know, you're in the United States for 5 months. What job do you have outside of the United States that give you that kind of time off? Be right. That can be interpreted. So you leave that kind of time frame to interpretation, and the next thing you know is either one of two things. You may not get entry the next time around, or you go to renew the visa and it's not renewed.
Yes.
And you're not understanding why this is not happening. Also, when people are coming on those kind of trips as well, they like to use their phones a lot. So all kinds of communication is in the phone. And when they're stopped and they look at the phone, and then they can interpret information from the phone as you come in to carry out some form of work employment on a visiting visa. So now you're not using it for the purpose it's meant for, and they're seeing evidence of that. You know that that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a ban for a duration of time. And a lot of the times, these bans are not lifted in terms of you getting back a visa, but more so somebody have to petition for you somewhere down the line. And when that petition is also done, then you have to pay some big money to get a waiver done. Some things that we can actually avoid.
Yes. May I ask you also about those journalists, Nordia? Because I know over time that journalists have gone to the US to do work, but they travel on their B1, B2, and it is that they should be using an I visa. How stringent do you expect them to be where watching those things are concerned?
All right. So I'm going to say use the permits, because I would have started out by saying use the particular visa for the purpose it's meant for. Because with the B1, B2, it leans to visiting and conferences, and you may have medical issues and so on. It surrounds, and it sometimes can be a little murky in terms of, okay, so the journalist is coming to a conference. You know, it can kind of murky the water, so it can be interpreted that, oh, if she's coming to a conference, then that's what a B1, B2 does. You know, but if she's coming to carry out some journalism work now, then you're expecting her to have the appropriate visa. And what people also need to remember and also understand is that the visa is really an entry permit.
Yes.
When you get to the port of entry, them no must let you in.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
You may not be right. You may not be let in. So this is going to be the second interview. So people only pay attention to the interview in the consulates, in the embassies, right?
Yes.
You do that second interview again every time you get to that port of entry for them to decipher that you're coming in for the right reason and you're using the right visa for the right purpose.
I'm getting the hurry up sign, Nordia. My producer says I'm out of time. But tell the listeners and the viewers how they can contact you, how they can reach out to you for more information and better particulars.
Okay. All right. So first of all, let me give my contact number. And if you have missed the name of my business, it's the Consular Queen LLC, and it's located in Atlanta, Georgia. However, I take care of work all across the world once you're interested in coming into the United States. My contact number is 470-593-8448. Contact number 470-593-8448. If you're having a challenge reaching out by calling straight, you can do a WhatsApp message. That also works.
Excellent. Thank you this morning, Nordia, and we'll catch up again.
Thank you so much, Mr. George.
Nordia Barrett Lewis there. She is the Consular Queen, expert on consular affairs and immigration matters. And she has been a key advocate for Caribbean nationals seeking clarity and support where immigration matters are concerned in these very, very uncertain times under Mr. Trump. More on the Nationwide this morning after these.